Alright, let's get you playing Mutants and Masterminds 3rd edition. Here are the timestamps of key points in the video. Everything I will be talking about is going to be using the Deluxe Heroes Handbook, so just, look for that. You'll be able to find it. Mutants and Masterminds is primarily focused on superheroes and superhero-inspired worlds, but you can use this for just about anything. It's super versatile. Alright, switching over to character creation, your character's level and place in the world and campaign is decided by power level. Power level is just your character's actual level. Each one gives the specific character a different amount of power points, which is just a currency you use to give your character stuff. It's not like you level up and you can choose between subclasses. It's you level up and you can pick from the whole book about what you want to add to your stuff. And power level is often correlated to scale and stakes within your world. If you're starting off and jumping into something crazy like a Greek god campaign, you might start at level 13. If you're lower level and you're dealing with just standard goons and thugs, Two-Face's gang, then you're probably going to start around level 8, It all depends on the campaign and narrative. Each different power level gives 15 power points, and you'll be able to find a bunch of charts like this and whatnot in the book in their own sections. But the first thing you're going to be spending your power points on is most likely your abilities, and your abilities are just your character's stats, I don't need to explain that very much. Stamina, just so you know, this is endurance, your ability to take a hit and relax, or get poisoned and shrug it off. Agility is a lot more of quick movement, dancing, things like that. Dexterity is hand-eye coordination, focus. This is your ranged attack stuff. This is what you use to fire a gun, shoot a bow, throw a lightning bolt, things like that. Fighting, this is your, it's your fighting. This is your getting in there, throwing hands, left, right, hook, all that. Don't gotta say what that is, because everyone knows intellect. Awareness is a lot more of your wisdom section. It's your perceptiveness, it's you're in the know, as opposed to knowing a lot, if you understand what I'm saying. And presence is your charisma derivative. It's your force of nature as a person, your force of presence, your charisma, you know what I mean? And these are what keep you from being hurt. Over here, these are directly tied to this. Dodge, this is for ranged attacks, primarily ranged attacks and AoEs, rolling out of the way. Parry is only for melee, so, throwing hands with Taskmaster, get that shield out my face. Fortitude is a lot more of resisting poison. It's your autoimmune system, your inner constitution. It's more of, I'm not going to feel this fever in the morning. Toughness is, I'm not going to feel the punch in the morning. You can hit me all you want, and I'm just going to mog you the entire time. This is for mental attacks. You get brain blasted, and to keep your brain intact, you need high will. That's tied into your awareness. You can see what each one is tied into. You can upgrade these with individual power points at a ratio of 1:1. So if I wanted to upgrade this, it would cost 1 power point, and it'd be 9. The only one you're not allowed to upgrade on your own is toughness, because that'd be a little strong. You have to use certain powers or advantages or circumstances in the future for toughness, but everything else, fair game. You can throw points into that. For every character involved, there are these things known as trade-offs, which keep you from being an insane monster and having a plus 100 to hit, a plus 100 damage, anything, right? With dodge and parry, these two are separate from each other, but they're tied to toughness. So that way, if you can't block an attack good, you can tank an attack good, or vice versa. Dodge and toughness and parry and toughness, they can't exceed double your power level. So this right here, total value 20, that's okay, power level 10 for this example. And fortitude and will are the same, so you can be really good at avoiding mental attacks, but a common cold might put your ass in the hospital. You get what I'm saying. It applies to plus to hit and plus damage, which I'll explain how damage works on later. Same for skills down here, they cannot be double your power level, so this could be 20, but that's it, nothing else. The same goes for any DC type of attack you create within this world. They cannot exceed your normal power level. So if your power level is 10, you can only have a DC of 20 for something, unless circumstances, your DM gives you advantage on that or what have you. And as I said earlier, everything involving customizing your character is going to be revolving around power points. It's going to be 2 power points to gain a +1 into your stat. If you go into the negatives, you actually gain 2 power points, which is pretty funny. It's 1-to-1 for defenses, like I said, so spend 1, gain a +1. And down here for skills, It's spend a power point and gain 2 ranks in something. Ranks is just your level of it. So if you have 5 ranks in a skill, that's +5, if you catch my drift. For advantages, which are feats that you buy, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, skills are the specific things you're going to be rolling. You know, you want to try sprinting a kilometer, athletics, simple as. You want to read into someone's intentions, insight. Some of these skills are known as trained skills, though. And what that means is unless you have ranks put into them, i.e. power points put into them, you won't be able to roll the skill. Because everyone can, you know, try and throw hands and deck someone in the face for complaining, but not everyone can just jump into a car and figure out how to drive. That is a trained skill. Everything that is trained will be underlined in red by post-editing me. Now, within these boxes here, these are special skills you are allowed to create. You're allowed to, you know, convene with your DM or whoever's running your game and whatnot and be like, hey, I'm going to make this a skill. So, hand-to-hand, you could be, I'm great at swords. You could be, I'm great at spears. But you can't be like melee because that's way, way too broad. Unless your DM's cool with it, in which case, you know, have fun. Ranged combat, same thing, except for, you know, guns, bows, spitballs, things like that. And expertise, that's something different. You mainly get to customize this in a way that it could be, pole vaulting, you know, and you could convene with your DM, maybe have it use your strength mod. You know, you're an expert pole vaulter, woohoo. You understand. And now we're in the meat and potatoes of Mutants and Masterminds. The powers. This is everything your character can do. This is gonna be a little complicated, but you can stick with me, right? Obviously, there are different types of powers. It depends on what you grab. They'll each usually be listed as type by here, and it'll better explain things, right? Now, say you wanted to make an attack that replicates Iron Man's repulsor blast, right? You would just go down to something like blast, and then boom, it's a ranged attack. It could be anything. The descriptor is up to you. The flavor, that's you. But this is what you'd want for blast. It's range damage, simple as. You can even add the knockback, but I'll get into that later. That is the modifiers section. That'll be special. Now, each specific power has their own different quirks that come with them. Some of them are free. Some of them are going to be a little time intensive to do. It depends on what you grab. And you aren't limited to having something you want to make be one power. And what I mean by that is if you really want to make handcuffs that can sleep people, that could be sleep and snare. It doesn't have to be just sleep or snare. If you wanted to, you know, deck someone and hit them in the windpipe so they can't breathe, that'd be strike, suffocation. And now what specific ranges exist and durations, all that listed underneath here, don't worry about that. When it comes to things that are DC based though, here's where we get into the actual dice rolling. There's these things known as degrees, which is levels of someone messing something up, right? It's in normal skill rolls, it's in a combat, what have you, right? Now, here it's an example of someone failing a degree, but a degree is 5 after the DC, right? So 1 degree is, say you roll a 19 and the DC to beat an affliction is 20, that's 1 degree. But if you roll like a 14, that's 2 degrees, and that makes it a stronger affliction, that makes you suffer something worse. If you roll a 9 on a DC 20, then that's 3rd degrees, and you're probably screwed. I'm going to be honest with you. This applies to just about all skills, the whole degree thing. It's not that bad, I promise. It mainly affects damage, afflictions, whatnot. When you see specific powers that are listed in this blue box right here, assuming you're using the same book, I actually think the base book has it too, but these are known as sample powers, right? These are it's like a foundation, you know? You can't make comprehend something broad, but say you want to make blast something broad, that's possible because it's up to interpretation. A blast can be, like I mentioned, throwing a spear. It can be shooting a repulsor blast. If you're really feeling crazy enough, you could just like vomit cheese and have that be a blast. It's all up to you, man. It's all up to you. And now after powers, we have modifiers. These are like a subset of customization options. They change how your powers work fundamentally. For example, you have a teleport and you're zipping around the city doing whatever you want, but you also want to be able to teleport other people, then you'd throw on affects others, right? So other people can be teleported by you. And the reverse of that is a flaw. What flaws are is they're like stipulations you're probably not going to like. They hinder your power in one way or another and make it cost less. The same way flaws make it cost less, modifiers and extras make it cost more. So, you know, you'll be saving yourself by giving yourself bits of flavor, like say you can't exactly control it, uncontrolled, you know? Now it's a DM plot point, which could be cool for things like Hulk transformations or anything involving that line, right? If you can't control it, it's uncontrolled. If it's a gamble, unreliable, so on and so forth. A lot of equipment, say, you know, a magic sword, right? Call it a device. It's known as a device. Say a magic sword you have that's like stable to your character. It has removable on it most likely because it's a sword. You can forget it, you can drop it in the mud, you can get it knocked out of your hand. It would be removable flaw, but a sword. It would be a strike power, if you understand what I'm saying. But you're smart. You probably do. I'm very proud of you. Another specific example, limited. This is what's going to be around a lot. Like, so say you have a teleport, but you can only do it when you step into somewhere that's dark. Teleport, limited. Shadows. Now, here's an example of a power fully realized. This is basically stomp the ground, and it's going to crack, it's going to break, and people are going to get hurt by dirt. So, it's a shapeable AoE, but it's limited to the ground because you can't stomp your foot and, you know, disorient or hurt someone that's flying. Same with this, you know, he's got thick skin, so he got protection. He's stronger toughness-wise, and he's got impervious, which I'm not going to explain, but you can read it for yourself. Then we got complications. These are your character beats. This is what your character, like, this is what drives him. This is what he goes against as a repercussion of doing what he does. For example, motivation for Peter Parker. He wants to do good, so that would be justice, right? Uncle Ben told him to do good. He wants to do it good. That could also be considered responsibility, but don't forget, it does not have to be just these. It can be whatever you and your DM decide on, because, as you know, TTRPGs are entirely for fun, and as such can be, you know, workshopped, tinkered with, however you want. Then, of course, there's complications that are known as, like, conflicts. Right, say you may accidentally get caught in drugs. We don't like drugs, but it happens, okay? Maybe your character's struggling. Maybe he's got an addiction to something. Whatever, right? Obsession. Lex Luthor. He despises Superman and he's low-key obsessed with him. The movie is great, by the way. I really hope people see it, right? Now, I mean, once again, I don't gotta explain this. You understand it. You know, you could be racist for some reason. You could be worrying about your own Mary Jane, trying to balance your hero and work life. You could, I don't gotta explain. You get it, right? This is all flavor. Do what you want. Have fun. Write a story. Make your a cool character. Now that's about everything. You got your character. You got what he does. You got how he's gonna act in your brain somewhere. You got what he can do, what he can't do. Everything important. Now you have a character ready to be playing, but that's when combat comes in. Combat's relatively simple. It depends on your powers, it depends on how you've altered it, but something important to recognize is you've got these actions always at the bottom of your sheet, assuming you're using the same one. Same with these. These can be altered depending on what you want. Conditions can hit you depending on the power. You know, simple combat stuff, right? But this game doesn't have HP or anything similar to standard D&D. What it does have is hits. And hits are basically, you know, wounds. You take something light, you get scratched up on the cheek, nothing really happens. So, for example, say you want to roll your toughness and you roll your d20, you do bad, you get a wound, assuming you fail by 1 degree. As I mentioned before, degree is simple, it's just 5 off from the DC, right? Same with second degree, that's 10 off, that's 6 through 10. Degree 3 is 11 through 15, so on, right? It depends on how you're going to be having your combats, if it's deadly or not. If you're running something a little deadlier, failing by like a second degree might make you impaired, third degree might make you dazed, what have you, right? But it's important to count that every time you fail a toughness check, so you fail to shrug off a hit, then that is a -1 onto the future, unless you and your DM work something out and change it. But say you fail one attack and you're hurt, then you have a -1, so now it's a +7 to roll your toughness. If you keep failing, it's going to keep accumulating. You are fully knocked out, though, When you fail by 3 degrees twice or 4 degree once. So, for instance, say you roll like a 5 and the damage total was 20, then that's a 3rd degree, then you do it again, you're knocked out. And if you fail it by 20, or like 16 to 20, you're done, you're asleep, you're knocked out, right? And when it comes to damage, if anything you have that damages someone, you have the damage rank, which is, for example, melee. If you have a club that has 1 damage on it and it's affected by strength, because, you know, club would affect strength, then that would be 9 damage total, right? You add 15 to your total damage, and that's the DC they have to roll toughness-wise. You understand? So if I have a toughness of 10, and someone has a total damage of, let's say, 25, I'm probably not going to get hurt by that. Let's just be honest. I'll probably be fine. Though the difference is between like melee and ranged is with ranged you often don't add your dexterity to your damage. You mainly add that to your to hit. Ranged attacks have their own set damage unless your DM works something out. You always roll toughness to shrug off physical attacks. This is mental attack. This is like poison. These two are often for like statuses and afflictions. When someone is trying to hit you though, before they do the damage, if they're trying to like land a strike, it depends on what they're doing, but you add 10 to your parry and 10 to your dodge for the purposes of making like an armor class, like a number for them to beat. So if they roll a 15 and you have 12 plus 10 for your parry, then you dodged it. You don't have to roll anything. You only roll when it's a toughness, when it's a fortitude, or when it's a will. Here's an example. After Thanos decides to make Hulk a complete loser for the rest of the MCU, Thor rolls a strike against Thanos and beats his parry. Thanos rolls toughness and doesn't take damage, and then he hits a 3rd degree wound, and then a Squid Guy uses a snare power on Thor. Thor fails that as well by 3 degrees, leaving him restrained and immobilized. Your character is mostly going to be progressing and getting stronger through gaining power points or power levels, depending on whatever your DM wants to throw at you. You know, say you did something low level, you beat some goons up, and you got some plot. That's probably like 3 power points, or if you beat a main antagonist, that's a power level right there. And that's about it. You know, you're completely done, you're able to play, you're able to do whatever you want, have fun in whatever campaigns you're a part of. You know, there's additional stuff, of course. There's like gadgets, like devices, there's building special things like houses, headquarters, special cars. It's all up to you. You know, if you understand everything else previously, you'll be able to understand whatever this is, right? There's DM guides here if you need some help there. And there's pre-created adventures, glossary, and at the very bottom of the book you'll be able to find a bunch of charts and tables that'll explain specifics to you, and things like speed rank 10, how fast can you move in a round? 8 kilometers in 6 seconds, things like that. I hope you enjoy whatever campaign you join. I hope you have fun. I hope you like the system. I hope you have a good time, and thanks for sticking around. Yeah, that's about it. Enjoy your day.